Now it comes to the chapter 1. Title of the chapter 1 is Some Preliminary Observations. It is something that the introduction of this book. The very key points which will be mentioned in this book. In the Buddha's teachings, as we find them presented in the early Buddhist discourses, we can identify two noteworthy characteristics. In the Buddha's teachings, as we will find presented, it means that when we read the early Buddhist discourses, we can find two characteristics which is worthy of our attention. Very important point. The first characteristic, one is that they are not claimed to be a divine revelation. The first characteristic in the early Buddhist teachings is that the Buddhist discourses, that means the Buddhist talks given by the Buddha or the teachings preached by the Buddha, are not claimed to be, it means that the Buddha did not claim that his teaching is a kind of divine revelation. Divine revelation means the inspiration from an almighty God. Divine means a supernatural power or a creator God. Revelation means inspiration or the coming into be understood through an agent. The Buddha said he only discovered the truth and then he preached his discovery. He just talked to other people what he had discovered in his meditation. His teachings was not a divine revelation. It is the discovery of the Buddha, not the inspiration from an overpowered God. As the founder of a religion, the Buddha did not attribute the authorship of what he had discovered through human effort to a higher source, to a personal God or to an impersonal Godhead. This sentence is to explain the first characteristic. As the founder of a religion, the Buddha was considered as the founder of Buddhism. Actually, Buddhism is not equal to the meaning or the definition of a religion as the Western religions such as Judaism or Christianity or Islam, because religion means return to the original source or the original creator. But as we know well, that the Buddha did not claim that his discovery was created by an almighty God. There is no source at all. There is no first cause. Everything is originated out of several conditions. It is so-called interdependent origination or interdependent arising. There is no first cause at all. There is no origin and there is no ending. Everything is changing in progress. The meaning of religion means returning to the origin. But the Buddha said, there is no creator. Everything is interdependently originated. So actually, we cannot say that the Buddha Dharma is a kind of religion. In the context of the Western religions, the Buddha's Dharma is only a teaching of education, a teaching to train our mind and to develop our wisdom in order to understand the truth of our life and the whole world, so that we can live up to the truth. In that way, we are liberated from ignorance and thus suffering. However, we use the conventional term of religion to refer to the Buddha Dharma. We have to keep in mind that the Buddha Dharma actually is not a religion. It is only a teaching of training our mind and developing our wisdom only. There is no creator. There is no beginning of our life, and there is no ending of our life. The Buddha did not attribute the authorship of what he had discovered through supreme human effort. It means that the Buddha discovered the truth of dependent arising through supreme human effort. The Buddha put much effort in training himself and developing his wisdom so that he discovered the truth of life. This kind of authorship is not from a higher source. A higher source. A higher source means some being higher than us, or we may call it the supernatural source. The Dharma was discovered by the Buddha out of his hard effort, out of his training himself in meditation, both the concentration meditation and wisdom meditation. The Buddha did not say that his findings or his Dharma came from a personal God or to an impersonal Godhead. A personal God means to consider the God as a person. As a person, we have eyes, we have ears, we have nose, we have mouth, we have head, we have hands, we have feet. We can speak, we can communicate with other people. This is the so-called a personal God. For example, in Hinduism, we have the personal God as Vishnu. And an impersonal Godhead. Impersonal means not in the form of a person, not in the idea of a person like us. Godhead. Here, we cannot define head as the meaning we use now. Godhead means the nature of God, the nature or the substance of a God, the meaning of a God, not personalized. It is only a nature or attribute or the characteristic of a God. For example, we may say overpresence, overpower, or omniscient. This kind of ability is supposed to be the characteristic of a God. We call this Godhead. The Godhead means the nature or the substance or the characteristic of omnipresence, omnipotent, omniscience. The second characteristic of the early Buddhist discourses teachings, the other is that the Buddha's teachings are not claimed to be a reformed version of a previous doctrine, a doctrine which had prevailed earlier but which had been forgotten or misunderstood later. The second characteristic is that the Buddhist teachings are not claimed to be. The Buddha did not claim or did not say that his teachings was a reformed version. It was not a reformed version, but it was a discovery by the Buddha himself. It is not a reformed version. It means to improve the existence doctrine or the existing religion. A doctrine which had prevailed, which was popular earlier, but which had been forgotten or misunderstood later. The Buddha did not say that his teachings came from the old doctrine or the old religion, which was once very popular, and then declined, and then the Buddha found it again. The Buddha did not say so. The Buddha claimed that what he taught was totally his discovery. What these characteristics clearly demonstrate is that the Buddha took full responsibility for what he taught. We have explained these two characteristics as above. This clearly demonstrates that the Buddha was totally responsible for his teaching. If we say that the Buddha's teaching was a divine revolution, then the Buddha was not responsible for what he has taught. Because he may say that this was the inspiration from a divine God, from a creator. So I only speak to you. I got the inspiration from the God. I am a medium. I was only the medium of the God. I receive the teachings from the God, and then I transmit to you. And for the second characteristic means that the Buddha was responsible for what he taught. He did not say, the Buddha did not say that he reformed the old tradition or the old doctrine. So the Buddha needs to say that he was totally true to what the old doctrine, the Buddha's teachings, has nothing to do with the old doctrine. The Buddha's teachings was totally his discovery. He was responsible for his teaching. The best way to understand what the Buddha taught is to describe it as a discovery. Thus, with reference to the doctrine of dependent arising, which is the most fundamental teaching in Buddhism, the Buddha says. The best way to understand the Buddha's teaching is to describe the Buddha's teaching as a discovery, a totally new discovery by the Buddha. And what is his discovery? His discovery is dependent arising. This is the most basic teaching in Buddhism. Of course, in Mahayana Buddhism, we claim that the Buddha also taught the doctrine of Sunyata, or the doctrine of Vijñāti-matrata, or the doctrine of Tathagata Gaba, or Tathagata Gotra. In the early Buddhist teaching, the Buddha only taught the doctrine of dependent arising. He mentioned only few times about the sunyata, limited to the sunyata of self, not the sunyata in Mahayana Buddhism. We can find that the most often mentioned teachings in early Buddhism is the dependent arising. And other Mahayana doctrines developed from this very fundamental teaching of dependent arising. The Buddha explains what he has discovered. That is the doctrine or the principle of dependent arising. The Buddha says, whether Tathagatas arise or not, this order exists, namely the fixed nature of phenomena, the regular pattern of phenomena or conditionality. This the Tathagata discovers and comprehends. Having discovered and comprehended it, he points it out, teaches it, lays it down, establishes, reveals, analysis, clarifies it, and it says, look, whether Tathagatas, we have the plural form of Tathagata. Tathagatas refers to the Tathagata of our time and former Tathagatas in the past times in plural form. In Theravadan teaching, they only have the Tathagata of 3 times. However, in Mahayana Buddhism, we have the Tathagatas of 3 times and also the 10 directions. That means at the same time, there are numerous Tathagatas from the point of view of Mahayana Buddhism. Tathagata is one of the 10 names referring to the Buddha. Tatha in English means suchness or thusness, which cannot be expressed by language, but which can be only seen or understood by oneself, not by means of language. You have to see it. You have to realize it. You have to see with your eyes. In Buddhism, you have to understand with your mind in meditation. What you can experience in meditation when your mind is concentrated and highly developed, that you can see what the truth is. That is the meaning of tattva. Tattva means suchness or thusness. That means that we cannot explain it by means of our language. It can be only experienced by mind in meditation. And the kata means coming. Akata means go, going to somewhere. And akata means coming. Tathagata can be understood from 2 points. The first one is Tatha plus Kata. It means that the Buddha has come to suchness. The Buddha has experienced the truth by himself with a concentrated and well-developed mind. This we can explain in the first way. And the second way, we can split Tathagata as Tatha plus Agata. That means come to suchness or thusness. That means the Buddha has experienced himself, or the Buddha has come to the realization of suchness through his human effort of practicing concentration meditation and insight meditation. Whether Tathagatas, that means all the Buddhas are the same. Whether all the Buddhas, the Buddha of our world and the Buddhas of the past time, whether all Buddhas appear or not, this order exists. Order here refers to the principle of dependent arising. The dependent arising has been here, has been from the past time until the present time, and will be available or applicable in the future times. This order means dependent arising exists. It has existed already in the past, and it exists now, and it will exist in the future. That means the dependent arising is the everlasting truth of our life and even the external world. Namely, that is to explain the expression of this order exists, namely the fixed nature of phenomena. The fixed nature of phenomena means all the phenomena are dependent originated or dependent arising. We can understand that fixed nature means that the phenomena remain all the same. No, we cannot interpret in this way. We have to interpret that all the phenomena are dependently originated, or the regular pattern of phenomena. The regular pattern of phenomena, when different conditions cooperate with each other, then certain phenomena will appear. This is the regular pattern. And when the conditions disintegrated, then certain kind of phenomena will disappear. This is the regular pattern of phenomena, or all the phenomena are changing in progress according to the conditions. In short, we can call the dependent arising as conditionality. Conditionality. It means nothing ever lasts. Nothing is created by a God. Nothing is created by any external condition, but our life is conditioned by our mind. This the Tathagata discovers and comprehends. After he discovered and comprehended it, the Buddha points it out. The Buddha told us the principle of dependent arising, teaches it, lays it down. Lays it down means explain it very clearly. Establishes, the Buddha establishes the principle of dependent arising. It means that the Buddha makes other people to believe in the doctrine of dependent arising. Establish means to make other people believe in this doctrine of dependent arising, reveals or unveils. He analyzes clarifies the doubts people may have about dependent oration. And it says, look, look means that you have to experience itself with your mind, but your mind should be concentrated and your mind should be developed according to the teachings of the Buddha. We have to observe precept in order to control our physical action and the verbal language. And then we have to go further to practice concentration meditation, to concentrate, to calm down our mind. And then we have to practice insight meditation. We have to observe what happens in our meditation. When we are in absorption, we can see clearly the truth of our five aggregates. Aggregates means conduct in Pali language. If the Dharma is a discovery, then it is the pivotal road of the Dharma that comes into more prominence. But because the Dharma is a discovery of the Buddha, and therefore the most important road of the triple gems is the Dharma, not the Buddha, and not the Sangha. The Dharma is more important than the Buddha and the Sangha. From the Buddhist perspective, therefore, what is more important is not the historicity of the discoverer Buddha, but the veracity and the validity of the discovery. From the Buddhist viewpoint, what is more important is not the Buddha, is not whether the Buddha was a person in our history. No, this is not important. What is more important is the veracity and the validity of the Dharma. Whether the Dharma is the truth is more than important than whether there is a man called Sakyamuni Buddha in history. The truth, the veracity and the validity means the truth and the applicability of the Dharma. As a matter of fact, as recorded in one Buddhist discourse, the Buddha himself says that he depends on the Dharma, honors the Dharma, is respectful and differential to the Dharma. He considers the Dharma as his banner and the standard, and the Dharma as his overlord. As a matter of fact, that we can find in one Buddhist discourse, in one Buddhist sutra or commentary. The Buddha himself says that he depends on the Buddha, on the Dharma. It means that why Sakyamuni, Prince Sakyamuni, was considered as a Buddha. A Buddha means an enlightened one. Why Sakyamuni was considered as a Buddha? It is because that he discovered the truth, the principle of dependent arising. It is because of the Dharma that Siddhartha was considered as a Buddha, honors the Buddha. He respects the Buddha. He is respectful of the differential. Too, differential has the same meaning of respectful. The Buddha respects the Dharma. He considers the Dharma as his banner and stand. The banner is a kind of flag which represents a certain person or an organization. Understand, it means that the Buddha depends on the Dharma, that he was an enlightened one, and he was the person to preach the Dharma, and he was very sure that his Dharma can liberate people from sufferings. And he considered the Dharma as his overlord. Overlord means a creator God above us, or creator God decides us. The Buddha considered the Dharma as his overlord. The Buddha was only a servant of the Dharma. The Buddha was only a discoverer of the Dharma. The Dharma is much more important than the Buddha. Equally significant in this connection is what the Buddha told Ananda. We can find the meaning of the Buddha's talk to Ananda, his close disciple, and actually his attendant. We may call Ananda as the attendant of the Buddha. A few days before his parinibbana. Pari means full or complete. Parinibbana means complete or full cessation of the suffering. That means an enlightened person passes or dies, because when an enlightened person, or we may call him as an arahant or arhat, dies, all his mental sufferings and the physical sufferings ended. That is the complete cessation of mental and physical suffering. He told Ananda, Ananda, the doctrine and the discipline which I have taught and enjoying is to be your teacher after my passing. Ananda was in deep affliction in his mind when he understood that the Buddha would pass away very soon. He felt very bad, and he asked the Buddha, who will be our teacher after your holiness passes away? The Buddha told Ananda, you should not take any person as your teacher. But the doctrine of discipline, which I have taught and enjoin means requires other people to believe in his teaching. The doctrine is the teachings about the Four Noble Truths. And the discipline is the so-called precept or shilas in Pali or Sanskrit language. The teaching and the precepts which the Buddha have taught to his disciples and persuaded his disciples to follow the doctrine and discipline will be the teacher of all his disciples after the Buddha's passing away. Because of the pivotal role assigned to the Dharma, the Buddha himself recognizes that others too can present the Dharma and elaborate on it. The Dharma was considered as the pivot of Buddha's teaching. Therefore, the Buddha himself recognized, the Buddha himself admitted that he was not the only person who can teach Dharma. Other persons can also present Dharma in different ways and elaborate on it. That means to explain Dharma in different ways from the Buddha's teaching. Many are the occasions recorded in the Buddhist discourses when the Buddha appreciates his own disciples' exposition of the Buddha. We can easily find that the Buddha applauded his disciples when his disciples express the Dharma. The Buddha appreciated very much the teaching of his disciples to other persons. Among the most eminent expounders of the Dharma are both monastic members as well as lay disciples. The most eminent expounders means the most outstanding or the most successful or the more famous teachers of the Dharma are both monastic members. Monastic members means the members in a monastery, or we may say the Buddhist monks and the nuns, or we can also call them as shaman, or in English, renunciates. The people who renunciated their household life or secular life and become celibate, homeless. Those people are called monastic members. They disciples refer to the household disciples of the Buddha. It means that no matter whether a person is a monk or nun or a lay person, it is not important. The most important is whether those people can elaborate the Dharma in the correct way, as recognized by the Buddha himself. Among them, Of course, there are many preeminent expounders of the Dharma. We just mentioned a few of them. Among them are Puna Mandaniputa, a Buddhist monk, Dhammadinna, a Buddhist nun, and Citta and Hataka, two disciples among the laity. The laity means the household followers. Of course, we can also mention many other expounders of the Dharma of the lay persons, including the layman and the lay woman. There are many good teachers of the Dharma among the Buddha's disciples. And of course, after the Buddha entered parinirvana, his teaching, or the Buddha's Dharma, was spread by people to foreign countries outside of India, and one generation by one generation until today. And it is our responsibility to transmit the Buddha Dharma to other people, to make the Dharma everlasting. Furthermore, the Buddha encourages his disciples to elaborate on the Dharma. The Buddha didn't say that all his disciples should follow his teachings 100%. The Buddha did not claim that he was the God, that he was the only authority, and no other person can elaborate his teachings. The Buddha didn't say that. The Buddha encourages his disciples to explain the Dharma in different ways, to elaborate. That means to explain something fully in different ways. Accordingly, the Buddha tells Mara. Mara is a devil who always tries his best to destroy Buddha Dharma. The Buddha tells Mara that he will not attain parinirvana until he has his monks, nuns, male and female lay disciples who are wise, disciplined, confident, secure from bondage, learned upholders of the Dharma, practicing in accordance with the Dharma, practicing in the proper way, conducting themselves accordingly, who have learned their own teacher's doctrine and they can explain it, teach it, proclaim it, establish it, disclose it, analyze it, and elucidate it, who can refute thoroughly with reasons any prevailing misinterpretation of the Dharma. The Buddha told Mara in two occasions. The first occasion is upon his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. And the second occasion is sometime before the Buddha's entering parinirvana. The monarch urged or pushes the Buddha to attain parinirvana as soon as possible. But the Buddha refused. The Buddha said he must have his disciples, including monks, nuns, and householder. He must have all his disciples become wise, disciplined. Discipline means that his disciples can observe the precept 100%. Confident means that his disciples have no doubt in his teaching. Secure from bondage means the attainment of nibbana or liberation. Learned. They should be learned. As a Buddhist, we have to be learned. We should not be superstitious. We have to learn the truth, the Dharma. Upholders of the Dharma, upholders that we should support and protect the Dharma. We should not only follow the Dharma, we have to support and protect the Dharma, practicing in accordance with the Dharma. The Dharma is not only a kind of knowledge for us to study, but the Dharma is a way of living, a way of practice in order to develop our concentration and insight, to have the prajna, and so that we can attain nirvana and become an arahant or become a Buddha. Practicing in the proper way, we should follow the correct shita, the correct way of meditation, conducting themselves accordingly. That means that they behave and speak in the correct way. We may say they follow the Eightfold Noble Paths, who have learned their own teacher's doctrine and they can explain it. The Buddha wanted his disciples not only to learn, but also can explain to other people, teach it, proclaim it, establish it. That means the disciples should do their best to explain the Dharma so that other people can believe in the Dharma, discourse it, analysis, and elucidate it. Elucidate means to explain clearly. And the most important thing is the Buddha wants his disciples to refute thoroughly with reason. Thoroughly with reason means should be reasonable, or we may say should be logical, should be according to science. Any prevailing misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the Dharma, the Buddha wants his disciples to debate with other people who may misinterpret the Dharma or who may misunderstand the Dharma. He urges his disciples to defend for the cause of Dharma. There are two things which merit our attention here. Merit means worth of. We should attention here from the above dialogue between the Buddha and Mara. The first thing is, one is that here the Buddha refers not only to monks and nuns, but also to male and female lay disciples. And the Buddha, as his followers, not only the monks and nuns, but also the male and the female lay disciples, to fully understand his teachings, and it can explain his teachings to other people in the correct way. If this goal cannot be reached, then the Buddha would not attain parinibbana. It means that the Buddha would not die until all his disciples can fully understand the Buddha Dharma and explain to other people. The other is that the Buddha expects his disciples not only to correctly understand and disseminate the Buddha and the Dharma, but also to be able to refute with good reasons any doctrinal misinterpretation. The second point which merit our attention is that the Buddha expects his monastic disciples and the householder disciples not only to correctly understand and spread his teaching, but also can refuse with, means to keep back or to defend against any doctrinal misinterpretation, but should be with good reasons. It is not out of emotion, but it is out of wisdom. His disciples not only should correctly understand and disseminate the Dharma, but protect and defend the Buddha Dharma. One noteworthy feature of the early Buddhist discourses is that they themselves tell us how the teachings contained in them are presented and how they should be understood accordingly. There's one noteworthy characteristic of the early Buddhist discourses is that the content means how the teachings contained in them are presented and how they should be understood accordingly, how we can correctly understand the early Buddhist discourses. In his well-known discourse on the parable of the raft, the Buddha compared his doctrine to a raft. This is very important. The parable, the simile of the raft. The Buddha used the parable of the raft to explain that his doctrine is just like a raft. A raft is a vessel to reach the other shore of our sovereign river or sovereign ocean. It is for the purpose of crossing over are not to be grasped as a theory. Buddha Dharma is only a means, is only for the purpose of crossing over the suffering ocean, and not to be grasped as a theory. When we cross the ocean, we should forsake the raft, and we should not carry the raft on our shoulder. And also, we must understand that there's not only one raft. There may be different rafts, the small one or the big one, or even a modern ship. We can have different kinds of raft. The raft is only a vessel. We call it yana in Sanskrit or pari. It is only a vessel, only a vehicle, only a tool of transportation. The Buddha's Dharma is compared to a raft, compared to a yana, a vehicle, or a transportation tool. It is for the purpose of crossing over, not to be grasped as a theory. This is quite different from other religions. Other religions consider their religious books as holy, as the teachings from the Creator God, which should be followed 100%. Nobody are allowed to elaborate, to explain the religious literature in their own words. But the Buddha said, no, everybody can explain the Dharma in different ways. As a means to an end, the Dharma has only relative value, relative to the realization of the goal. The Buddha Dharma is only a means. And what is the end of the Buddha Dharma? The end of the Buddha Dharma is to attain Nibbana, or to attain enlightenment and the liberation from suffering. The goal is more important than the means. The means has only relative value. The means has no absolute value. The value of the means, that is the Dharma. The value of the Dharma is only for the realization of Nibbana. If no Nibbana, then the Dharma has no value at all. Its value is relative to the realization of the goal. This warns us that when we learn Buddha Dharma, it is not only for our knowledge, but it is for us to practice Dharma in order to attain the goal of Nibbana. We find this idea beautifully illustrated in the Chinese Buddhist saying that the Dharma is just like a finger pointing to the moon. This is in the Chinese Han literature. We have a Han book called The Record of Point to the Moon. The Record of Pointing to the Moon. This is a very famous Han book in Buddhism. Very beautifully is illustrated in the Chinese Buddhist saying that refers to the Han literature, that the Dharma is like a finger pointing to the moon. The finger is the Dharma, and the moon means the goal of Nibbana. Dharma aims to reach Nibbana. If we concentrate our attention only on the finger, we cannot see the moon, nor can we see the moon without looking at the finger either. If we only focus our attention on the finger, that means we grasp at the finger. We don't exist the finger and look further to the moon in the sky. Then we cannot see the moon. It means we cannot only concentrate our attention on the knowledge of the Dharma. We have to apply the Dharma in practice, transcend the Dharma, and see farther to realize the Nibbana. Nor can we see the moon without looking at the finger either. It means if we don't have the Dharma, then we cannot attain Nibbana. Both Dharma and Nibbana are important. However, the Dharma is used to realize Nibbana. Nibbana is the ultimate goal of Buddha Dharma. Dharma is only a means, only has relative value. If there's no goal, if there's no Nibbana, then the Dharma is only a knowledge. It has very limited value. We have to practice Dharma so that we can be enlightened and attain Nibbana. As a further extension of this idea, it can be recognized that the Dharma as a means can be presented in many different ways, from many different perspectives, because the Dharma is only a means to attain Nibbana. And as we said before, that there can be many different means to cruise over the ocean of suffering. And actually, in Mahayana Buddhism, we say there are infinite or numberless ways of Buddha Dharma to attain Nibbana or to attain Buddhahood. The Dharma can be presented in many different ways. The Dharma is not a dogma. The Dharma is not only one authoritative way, but the Dharma can be presented in different ways and from many different angles, as recorded in one discourse when two disciples of the Buddha, a monk and a carpenter, had an unstoppable argument as to the number of feelings, one recognizing two feelings and the other three. Ananda reported this matter to the Buddha. Then the Buddha told Ananda that both of them were correct because they looked at the issue from two different perspectives. This is very important. Two disciples of the Buddha, one is a monk and the other is a householder, a carpenter. They had an argument again and again as to the number of feelings. One says that there are only two feelings, and the other says that there are three feelings. They argue against each other from time to time. Ananda could not decide who is the correct one. So he reported this matter, the argument between these two persons, to the Buddha. Then the Buddha told Ananda that both of them were correct. There's not only one teaching, but there can be different teaching. Both of them are correct. You may say that there are two feelings, and you also can say that there are three feelings. There are three feelings, because these two disciples look at the issue of feelings from different perspectives. As to the number of feelings, the Buddha told Ananda that he had presented them not only as two or three, but also as 5, 6, 18, 36, and 108 in different presentation. The Buddha told Ananda actually that in different occasions, the Buddha presented the number of feelings not only as 2 or 3, but also as 5, 6, 18, 36, and 108. And even in Mahayana Buddhism, there are numerous feelings. Now, we have to understand, what does the feeling mean? Feeling was translated from the Pali word of Vedana, V-E-D-A-N-A, Vedana. Feeling is translated from the Pali word of Vedana. However, the translation of feeling cannot fully represent the meaning of Vedana in Pali or in Sanskrit. When we say a feeling, the meaning, the definition of feeling has some consult concept with emotion. It is a kind of emotion. For example, we may feel good, we may feel bad. It is a kind of emotion. But the original meaning of Vedana has nothing to do with emotion. Vedana is one of the 5 khandhas. Khandhas means aggregates. We have 5 khandhas or 5 aggregates. What are they? The physical body or the form. We call it rupa in Pali. And Vedana, and the Sankhara, and the Samkhara, and the consciousness. Vedana has nothing to do with emotion. Among the 5 aggregates, only the thought or the conception and volitional formation are related to emotion. The original meaning of Vedana has nothing to do with emotion. Vedana means only the understanding of the existence of external objects. The understanding, or we may call it the knowing of the existence of external object. And later on, the Vedana has more definitions developed. When we say there are 2 kinds of feeling, we refer to the feeling of happiness and the feeling of unhappiness. When we say that there are 3 kinds of feeling, we say the feeling of happiness, unhappiness, and the neutral feeling. And of course, we can summarize all the different kinds of feelings as one. We call them as Vedana or feeling, or we may translate as sensation. And we may say that there are 4 kinds of Vedanas, but not feelings. We have to understand that the feeling cannot fully represent the meaning of Vedana in Pali. In Pali or Sanskrit, Vedana means to receive the external object into our mind or into our knowledge. And when we say there are 4 kinds of Vedana, we refer to the Vedana of the bondage of desire realm and the Vedana of the realm of form and the Vedana of the bondage of the realm of formless. That is the Vedana of the three realms of existence. And the fourth Vedana is the Vedana of non-bondage. That is the Vedana of liberation. And also, we can say that there are 5 kinds of Vedana. That is to divide our Vedana into physical Vedanas and mental Vedanas. The physical Vedana comes from the Vedana of our 5 sense organs. They are called the Vedana of sense organs, or the physical Vedana. For example, we may feel pain, we may feel very present, we may feel neutral. And there are other 2 kinds of Vedanas from our mentality. The Vedana from our consciousness. In our mind, we feel joy, we feel peace. This is a kind of the mental Vedana. This means the 5 kinds of Vedana. And when we say that there are 6 kinds of Vedanas, it means we have the Vedana through our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, our body, and our consciousness. In total, there are 6 kinds of Vedanas. And when we say that there are 18 kinds of Vedana, that means we have 6 kinds of Vedana. Then we use these 6 kinds of Vedana to sense the 6 external objects, which means the form, the sound, the smell, the taste, the touch, and the mental object. In total, there are 18 kinds of Vedanas. And then when we say there are 36 kinds of Vedana, it means there are 18 kinds of Vedana for lay people, for householder. They are always polluted. And there are also 18 kinds of Vedana for the monastic members, that is the monks and the nuns. There are also 18 kinds of Vedanas for monks and the nuns, which are purified. So in short, we have 18 kinds of Vedanas, both of pollution and purity. In total, there are 36 kinds of Vedana. When we say that there are 108 kinds of Vedanas, we can further classify the 36 kinds of Vedana into the 36 kinds of Vedanas of the past, of the present, and the future. And therefore, in total, we can have 108 kinds of Vedanas. And of course, in Mahayana Buddhism, we may have numerous kinds of Vedanas. So we have to understand that the meaning of Vedana cannot be fully represented by feeling or sensation in English, because when we say feeling or sensation, we say our feeling of emotion. We like it or we don't dislike it. However, in Pali word or in Sanskrit word, Vedana means only the reception of the external object. The reception of external objects by our five physical sense organs and also by our consciousness. They are only the reception. And when we develop our sensation or feeling into perception and further to volitional formation or volitional making, then we develop different kinds of emotion. This we have to keep in mind, that English or Chinese translation usually cannot fully convey the original meaning of Pali or Sanskrit terms. Okay, we have to end our talk tonight. Is there any comment from you? No question from you? All right. Already, we have to end our talk now.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Cheng, for the detailed exposition today of the written book on early Buddhist teachings, middle position in theory and practice. Before we end this online Dharma session, dear fellow class members, once again, please turn on our video cameras and let us put our palms together. Let us listen and repeat after Professor Cheng as we invite the professor to lead the class in the dedication of merits. Professor Cheng, please.
May all the sentient beings be free from the causes of suffering.
May all the sentient beings be from the causes of suffering.
May all the sentient beings be free from suffering.
May all the sentient beings be free from suffering.
May the world be peaceful.
May the world.
Thanks a lot. Okay, there's one question from 144. The question is, must we learn Pali or Sanskrit in order to learn Buddhism better? Yes, of course. If we can understand Pali or Sanskrit, we can understand the original meaning of the Buddhist term. It is very important. as we said already, that English or the translation cannot fully represent the original meaning of Pali and Sanskrit. If we can learn Pali or Sanskrit a little, then we can catch the original meaning. We can catch the intent of Buddha Dharma much better. All right, thank you.
Namo Amitofu. Dear fellow class members, please continue to put our palms together. In gratitude and with great appreciation, please give one bow to Professor and Dharma teacher.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Lim.
Professor Cheng. Once again, thank you. See you again at the next session.
Okay, see you again.
Yes, since he asked the question, may I ask further? Which is the best way to learn Pali language faster? I mean, easily and faster for us, because we don't understand the ABC of Pali language. So, if we want to learn that language, then how can we learn it in Taiwan?
Actually, there's no good way to learn Pali or Sanskrit. The only way is to learn diligently, to check the dictionary from time to time. Of course, if we can follow the regular teaching, then it is better. But it is very difficult for us to follow the regular way of learning Pali or Sanskrit from the very beginning of the pronunciation. The grammar is very complicated and very difficult for us. Then we don't have sufficient time. We can only rely on the dictionary and check the dictionary from time to time. Okay, 104 says the Kinja Foundation to provide online self-learning Sanskrit Tibetan. Yes, of course, that we can find many online teachings on Sanskrit or Pali or Tibetan, or we can attend the class offered by the university or offered by in Taipei, the Fa Guang Buddhist Culture Foundation. We can attend the class. Thank you so much. Okay, see you again.